A Trump-appointed judge, federal judge, has temporarily blocked the Biden administration from its pause on all deportations. Now, there are caveats to the pause. For instance, the Biden moratorium covers most deportations, but importantly excludes individuals who came to the United States after November 1st, are suspected of terrorism or espionage, or pose a danger to national security, have waived rights to remain in the United States, or who have been determined removable by the acting director. Again, this is according to his executive order, according to an agency memo. Now, that makes a lot of sense, especially when we're in the middle of this pandemic. There are travel bans, and it's of utmost importance to keep people safe with this highly transmittable virus. And unfortunately, a Trump-appointed judge, Judge Drew Tipton of the Southern District of Texas, said that the temporary restraining order that he implemented was appropriate under the Administrative Procedure Act. Tipton blocked the Biden administration from executing its deportation pause for 14 days. So that means that deportations can continue for the next 2 weeks. And what else did the judge argue? Like, what is his argument here? Why does he think it's a good idea to put a pause on Joe Biden's executive order? Well, he argues that in light of the foregoing, the court finds that the threat of injury to Texas outweighs any potential harm to defendants, and the public interest is served and protected by the issuance of this TRO. Okay, so that is the temporary restraining order that he's placed on Biden's executive order. Now, okay, why is he mentioning Texas? Where did that come from? Our good friend Ken Paxton is back in the scene. He's the attorney general for Texas, and he's been involved in all sorts of horrendous lawsuits, many of which we've talked about on this show. But Tuesday's order stems from a lawsuit filed by Ken Paxton challenging the 100-day pause on deportations. The complaint cited in part an agreement signed, wouldn't you know it, between the Department of Homeland Security and Texas in the waning days of the Trump presidency that required the department to consult the state before changing or modifying policies. So Ken Paxton, of course, went to this federal judge and started crying about the fact that he didn't get proper notice about this pause on deportations. He made a big deal about it, and a Trump-appointed judge decided to side with him.
Yeah, so look, the fact that this judge can do this is it's concerning in two different ways. So the immediate way is that in theory, God only knows in the 2 weeks before it's put back into place how many people could be deported. Although one non-silver lining to this is that apparently ICE wasn't really complying with it anyway over the past week or so. So I don't know how much difference it's actually gonna make, because apparently they were continuing deportations even though they were ordered not to. But that's in the short term. We also don't know if immediately after those 14 days, someone could sue in Florida, or someone could sue in Arizona, or God only knows. And so that's really what's more concerning about this, is that the sort of deal that was put into effect that you referenced was explicitly designed to provide like road bumps for Biden to get what he wants done in areas of immigration, but not just in immigration, in environmental regulation and things like that too. And so you have those, and I don't even know of all of them. I know that there's some, God only knows how many there are, but then also you have a country that is full of Trump-appointed judges. I mean, we focus on the Supreme Court because ultimately that's the body that's probably gonna end up declaring unconstitutional key pieces of progressive legislation. So that's gonna be fun in a couple of years. But before we even get to that, you have all of these different areas of the country now that can claim they're being aggrieved by anything Biden does. And so this story might be the first of potentially dozens or hundreds of stories over the next 4 years of maybe sometimes temporary, but maybe sometimes permanent ends to Biden actions, executive orders, or even pieces of legislation if they eventually do get passed.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I can't emphasize enough how ridiculous it is when people brush off strategic voting, right? So in 2016, when there were some arguments from people who didn't like Hillary Clinton, and I hear you, Hillary Clinton, not a likable candidate, not someone that I took pleasure in having to vote for because I didn't want Trump to get elected. But nonetheless, the threat of Trump appointing hundreds of federal judges, which he did, and then having the ability to confirm, at that time we didn't know how many Supreme Court justices, but now we know he managed to get 3 conservative Supreme Court justices confirmed. These are lifelong appointments, guys. And this is a way to essentially squash the types of policies that we wanna fight for and we wanna win on. So who knows what happens if we somehow miraculously get Medicare for all passed? Like, we go through all the hurdles. We somehow get Congress to vote on it. We get Congress to pass it. We get a president who signs it and refuses to veto it. And you know what's gonna happen after that, right? The same thing that happened to the Affordable Care Act, although with the Affordable Care Act, it was essentially a mandate to buy private insurance.
Yeah.
And those private companies were fighting against it. Conservatives were fighting against it anyway. Imagine how hard they're gonna fight when you do away with private industry tied to our healthcare. It's gonna get to the Supreme Court. Like, these issues matter. That's why thinking ahead, thinking strategically matters. I get it. I do all sorts of irrational things when I'm angry. I don't want to hear any reason. I don't want to hear any logic. I want to protest. I want to fight, whatever. But if you cool down for a minute, take a step back and think about, hey, why don't I think a few steps ahead and think about what kind of obstacles might stand in the way for the policies that I want to pass? Well, then you can kind of prepare yourself for making the right decisions. But we don't get a lot of that right now. We have an oversaturated media and everyone's trying to one up each other with how strong they allegedly are. And they allow people to indulge in irrational thinking that only provides more obstacles in the future for the things that we want to accomplish. That's what this story, that's the underlying message that I got from this story. And pausing deportations is incredibly important. Doing something about DACA, making sure that DACA recipients maintain their protections, that's important. All of these things are important. And now, who knows where these cases are gonna go? Who knows what kind of federal judge has been appointed by Donald Trump? Which one of them is gonna listen to these cases and decide to put a pause on these policies and these executive orders? It's an issue. It's something that we're gonna run up against over and over again, and this is just the beginning of it.
Yeah, really fast. I kind of want to, whenever we've done 4 blocks on the damage report of last week of look at all these executive orders, but there has to be an asterisk after every one. We hope, shutting down Keystone XL, probably. I know. I mean, there's some that should be slam dunks, but with just so much of it, it's well, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see if it actually makes it, to the point where it's fully implemented.
I totally hear you. It's hard to get excited about anything that seems great, right? Because even the organizers and activists who fought so aggressively to end that pipeline, they want to celebrate, but they're we got to wait until the ink dries. We got to wait and make sure that this is actually going to happen. And I totally understand that hesitation.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.